Good day and welcome to the Strong Ambition Podcast. I'm your host, Rylan Qualley. I am here to try to dissect and really find out about what it is that drives people towards their ambition, basically just makes them ambitious people and successful at it. Today is a great example with Keith Bilous. Keith Bilous is a very successful businessman. He started his own business called ICUC. He's been very successful with this throughout the years, and he also doesn't let fitness take a backseat. It's been a part of who he is. It's part of his identity. So it's really great to hear someone who has been incredibly successful in business also drive that passion towards his fitness. And he actually sees it as something that really gets him in the right mindset to be successful. So some really good chunks, simple but effective chunks of knowledge in this next episode. So without further ado, here's Keith Bilous. Keith, man, it's been a while since we've chatted. What I'd first like to, let's kind of dive into a bit of your background first. I got a few clients that are going to kind of pop in here and listen in. The rough bio I have of you is, just from what I know from you, is you're an entrepreneur, started your own business, and later sold it for quite a bit of money, and you still work for them. Been a very successful businessman, and something that I always remember seeing is how driven you were in the gym. I remember one day you saying that a lot of the things you learned in the gym you applied to life. So I always loved that perspective from, you see busy people will say, I'm too busy. It's like, well, it's priorities, because I see successful people that are running billion-dollar companies doing great. So why don't you give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah, 100%. Are we recording now?
Yeah, we're in it.
Awesome. All right, good, cool, awesome. So a little bit about me, Rylan. So about me, I am from St. Andrews, Manitoba, born, raised, and bred. North of Winnipeg, yes. Work ethic came from mom and dad, I would say. Was not raised with a silver spoon. Was raised with a you got to roll your sleeves up and get down to work attitude. So I would say to you that much of my discipline, much of my willingness to go to work is rooted in that. I dabbled in college a little bit, down the path of business, did pretty good. Discovered though entrepreneurialism and a different path was a little more appealing to me. So, got a job in the sales industry, worked for Xerox, learned how to sell, which was, you look at selling back in the quote unquote olden days, it was really a wonderful skill to learn. And then really went from there, Rylan. The internet kind of, came about, and one thing led to another. I was selling cell phones for Rogers Wireless for a while. As the internet was next thing you know, I was my own content moderator.
So we're getting a little slow feed here, but I just caught you at you. So right after you were selling the cell phones, how did that evolve into your own?
Yes. We saw a need for something. Saw a need for a solution that companies were looking around. The idea of content moderation. The internet was newer. People's ability to comment and create user-generated content for brands and make bad comments. Interesting, because it's kind of the same problem today. And companies were looking for other companies to solve that problem. So we decided to put our hand up and solve that problem.
Yeah. So explain your company. Is ICUC correct?
That's correct. Yes, ICUC. Yeah. We're a social media customer care company. We do content moderation, social insights, social reporting, strategy, and so forth for brands around the world.
That's awesome. So what was it like, because it's a, you took something like that and you made it, so big. Like you started something that you say you found a need, but you didn't just make something, you made something really big. What do you feel like was really like some of the major things that you had to apply to like make your company that much more successful?
I think it's just that old flywheel, Rylan, right? You just got to keep grinding it out. Right? It's consistent every single. It's like going to the gym, right? Every single day, then you get results. Every single day, then you get results, right? And I believe if you're continually adding value to your customers' lives, obsessing over your customers, they'll continue paying you. So, one customer starts with two starts with, two goes to three to four. Next thing you know, you're at 40. Next thing you know, oh my God, we got 100 people working for us. We have to do something about it. So it's, I don't know if you really, when you're in it, you don't really notice it until you kind of step back and recognize that, wow, we built something kind of cool here.
Ah,
You know?
that's it. That's
Yeah.
actually one of my favorite things about being a trainer. And just like I think when you're especially an entrepreneur, when you go through that evolution with something that you try to create, for myself, I always saw it in an individual. So you start training someone new and teaching something
Mm-hmm.
new, similar to like a client, and probably for your own business too. When you first get them, you see the opportunity to help them, and then after a couple months, all of a sudden
Absolutely.
you get to look back and you're like, hey, I did this for them. And like, especially when you look at that grand scale with your business, it's super exciting. Like, think about, remember that day one, and then look at like every, like periodically every year or so, you're like, wow, yeah, it's incremental changes. Like you say, I like how you use that idea of the gym, because no, you're not going to get bulky after one workout, but you do that every day for a few years
Mm-hmm.
and people are going to notice, right? So
Yeah,
did you
absolutely.
find that
Yeah,
like,
100%. Same with your customers, right? If you keep adding value.
yeah, and so and that value thing is a really good piece. I was talking to like Brant Butt, he's into Endeavor Wealth Management, and even with myself, when I focus more on just results based, not time for money, you're applying a whole different value, right? Like, and on top of that, you're going to be better at
Absolutely.
your job. You're more motivated to do it. You
Yes.
get them results, like you
Yes.
say, that brings more clients,
Yes.
right?
100%. Yeah. It's if you can focus on it's difficult for many people to focus on results based because it goes back to I'm busy, right? And when I'm busy, we lose sight of what we need to be doing, right? Because where I'm busy doing everything else. So when we're busy doing everything else, we're not actually focused on what we need to be doing, which is accomplishing the goals set out in front of us. Often it's taking the time to building a stop doing list more so than a to do more list.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I like that perspective because, it's always funny when I talk to people, clients and
Mhm.
stuff like that, that are having a hard time with prioritizing fitness and stuff like that, because they say they're busy, right?
Yes.
They say I don't have the motivation, and it's like when you look at their lives, I love how you say that, the stop doing list, because they're doing a
Yes.
lot. They're just putting priorities in the wrong places, and they don't put themselves first for their health and fitness, right?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe in that. I don't believe you never. I don't believe it is our role to try to motivate others. If they're not intrinsically motivated, then it's they need to look in their own mirror to figure that out. Right?
Hmm.
We can because the carrot can't keep being dangled forever. You need to find a way to intrinsically motivate yourself. I believe I tell my kids all the time. I believe the biggest skill you can learn right now is the ability to focus on results anywhere, anytime. Kids aren't kids are living less structured now, with less hockey, with less organized sports, with less school, with less dance, with less everything else. And there's this lack of structure to many of their lives as we go through the pandemic. And I believe if we teach them how to be structured, they can succeed tomorrow.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's like, and you really make sure that they apply themselves to the process, trust the process, and become
Yes,
identified by the process, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So, I wanted to
Precisely. Yes,
just
exactly. Exactly.
hear, like, you had said something really interesting about your upbringing. and how that really
Mhm.
evolved this character trait in yourself. So, and I just love to hear that story about like how your parents inspired you a little bit. What did your parents do?
So my dad was a civil engineer, worked for the government. Uh, and I don't mean an engineer in terms of. So he took care of the dirty work in the facilities that he worked at. And my mom worked retail her whole career. So they worked real hard, multiple jobs, 40, 50-hour weeks, right? Juggling schedules, juggling shift work, and, raising the children. Um, so I saw that. I witnessed that. Um, I witnessed my parents' ambitions of not having very much to having perhaps, you know, to building a wonderful middle class lifestyle for themselves and their families, and watching them work hard just taught me right. And I think it goes back to some of the simple things, right? When you're going to cut the grass right. Right. When you're going to make your bed, make your bed to look good. If you're going to put the time in to make your bed, then why would you make crap? Right. So it's kind of that attention to detail too, right? And if you adopt those philosophies, like if you're already going to put the work in, well, then why would you put a half-assed effort of putting the work in? Because if then you might as well not put the work in, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Like actually, so, and again, in the simplest sense, right? Like making your bed, like really in the morning, like make your freaking bed, man. Like why? Like what's difficult about that? That just sets the tone for the rest of your day, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I started making my bed like I'm not kidding 4 months ago, and it was just because my girlfriend was always making my bed for me, and I was like, this just feels better to come home to. And then that same premise is like it's the first thing that you can control when you wake up is like, hey, just get one
Yeah,
thing done, and it's not really taxing. It really isn't,
structure.
and hey, it's structure. It is a part of
Yeah,
structure, and we got to realize that we're very much creatures of habits, and that simple like take care of that one thing in
yes,
the at the start of the day. Hey, if you skip that, it could have a cascade reaction, right? And just the
yes,
whole idea of your policy of if you're going to spend your time doing something, do it right. And I was actually very much like a lazy kid, and I had a half-ass mentality until I got older, and I started to realize I'm putting my
yeah,
name behind my work, right? Like it could be making a bed, it could be doing a
yes,
job for someone. I don't care if it's part-time work. It's like, but they're identifying you with what you did. And so that's where like that's going to have the cascade reaction for everything you do because is Rylan a half-ass worker or is he a hard worker? Because you might in the moment not realize it matters, but it matters to the rest of the things that you're doing.
it's the same thing with fitness, man. Like I don't know why we can't. Like how many minutes there in a day? 720. But you can't move your ass for 30, really?
Yeah.
Like actually.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of that is like, even if you say 10 minutes a day, people will think, oh, well, then it's useless. It's like you do 10 minutes a day all week and you're 7 times more advanced than you would have been. And it goes to
Yes,
this whole value thing, right? So when did you
yes.
find strength training and exercise and nutrition in your life, or was it always a part of it?
I was a part of it. And perhaps early on in the days for the wrong reasons. I grew up reading the old Archie comics with the back there with the skinny guy in the sand and the big guy in the sand and the big muscle guy. And I grew up with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I grew up with Sylvester Stallone, and I grew up with Rambo, and I grew up with those bulky big bodybuilder guys, right? And I always had an interest in lifting weights. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. It's actually as far as I can remember. I've had a gym set at my house, um, perhaps through my dad, but there's always been some kind of the aesthetic appeal is what really drew to me earlier um, than the obvious appeal of strength just keeps you healthier longer, right? Just be strong, right? And it's proven. So I love picking heavy things up and putting them down.
Yeah.
It gives me
Yeah.
great joy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
that's great. So, was there ever a time when you're running your business and you said it's been a party for a long time that you had a hard time managing the two, and you might have been a little less driven in the gym, or do you feel like that just kept supplying your motivation and your attitude every day?
Yeah. I would say there were times early in my oh listen, yeah, there's no question if I'm reflecting really honestly here, there's no question that I went through some I had some struggles figuring fitness out in my life. I had some struggles with maybe kind of getting to some core values and some core who I am. And when I got that sorted out, it became just that much more important to me. So it's just part of who I am and what I do. Um, like breathing, actually.
Yeah.
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 It just feels like a necessity, right? Eventually when you create that structure. And it's funny because I'm very much where you're at, and I'm an addict to it, where it's like two
Mm-hmm.
days off is like, hey, it's okay to take 2 days off. But when you talk to someone who's a novice and new at this stuff, it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard to reflect back on who you used to be, who you used to think like,
Yes.
ah, man, this is taking a half hour out,
Yeah.
skipping a workout here and there isn't a big deal. And now you look at yourself and you're like, you feel incomplete without it, right?
I think if you, well, absolutely. I've had to learn, I've learned in the last, I don't know, 18 months, couple of years, value of recovery. I struggled. I've always struggled with recovery in terms of, okay, I got to dial it back for a couple of days a week. Really learned the value in that of taking largely 2 days a week to focus on mental restoration, restoration, and just a number of notches. So that has been a key learning for me that I guess I probably could have learned much earlier in life. So if I'm to offer any silver-haired wisdom, it's that recovery is key. Because what you recognize really quickly is that tomorrow, the next day, and everything else is going to keep coming regardless if you recover or not. So you might as well recover, and you know that
Yeah.
eventually your body's not going to continue. So you might as well take some time to recover, and you know yourself well enough that you're kind of that person who you're not going to recover forever. So you're like, yeah, just take the time. Then you go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So you
This is what you
really,
do. It's just what you do.
yeah. And so that's a really good thing to hear from you, because, and I still have a hard time understanding how to really keep myself in check for how many hours I'm an entrepreneur trying to do my own business, and like how many hours, or is
Yeah.
it quality work? Like, how do you find a good work-life balance? And like, there's probably just times within building your career that it's like, hey, it's basically all about your work.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you need to figure it out. You need to look in your own mirror and you need to put yourself first and recognize that if you put yourself first over the longevity of your career, it's going to work better for you. And the
Yeah.
longevity of your life, it's going to work better for you. Right. So um, that is the difficult to difficult to do, but it's really critical. It's really critical to focus on getting yourself taken care of so that you can take care of everything else around you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in that step right there is such an interesting discussion, internal discussion you have to have with yourself. I,
Mm,
I agree with the
mm,
longevity. Like, I think like if I'm starting to not enjoy what I do and I'm supposed to love my business, you should be taking steps back. If you're feeling it, you're putting in like, it's you work from 8 until 8 and you're like, I'm not doing good work, then it's like it's okay to hang it up, right? And then to reset the next day.
yeah,
But like what you had just said was such an important thing, and this comes back to what we were talking about with people having values, is like, you taking time to go for a walk is taking care of yourself. You taking time to do all these things for
absolutely.
health is like what's going to make you better for
Yes,
people. That's a very
yes.
important value. When do you feel like you started to learn that?
Like I said, as I've gotten older, you just recognize that it really is that much more important. So if I can offer advice, try to learn it now because you're inevitably going to be about you're inevitably going to be inevitably older one day, right? So if you can kind of learn that habit now, it's so simple, but if you learn it now, it's only going to be easier 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Unless you don't plan on living that long, you're like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, and if I'm working out now, and if it's important to me now, well, it's actually going to be even more important to me 10 years from now because we know that it's important. So we should, it's important to get on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and it's almost like I think too like a trust that it's not always gonna feel like this is a big thing I think people miss is like knowing that it will feel good eventually, knowing that you'll
Yeah,
trust that there's a process that you're gonna get these all the
yeah,
benefits and pros, but it's kind of
yeah,
like I mean everyone has this certain aspect of their life. Most people will have at least one
yeah,
aspect of their life that they haven't given time to get good at it. So I'll say for myself, like I don't give enough time for mobility. I put more in progressively because I know I've been so, struck in with injuries. But then I have to
yes,
accept that if I put that extra 10 minutes in each day, I have to accept that there will be a result.
yes,
Now, that's me and my discomfort in
yes,
not trusting the process because it's boring and all that stuff. If
yes,
someone hasn't done
yes,
exercise, same kind of thing, right?
yes. Yeah, it was the same thing. If somebody's like lifting weights, they're going, "Oh my god, I got to lift weights for 20 minutes." Right. So, or half an hour, 45 minutes, right? Knowing that if you keep doing it over and 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 over, it's going to make you stronger. It's the same thing with mobility, agility, any movement, right? I've added yoga to my life in the last year, a year and a half or so, year, I guess. And you understand why they call it a practice, right? Yoga practice, right? It's not
Yeah.
yoga perfect, right? Because just it's a process, right? It's like the yoga process every single time. There's not a right way or a wrong way. It's just doing the movements, doing the flow,
Yeah.
and doing it the best that you can. The fact that you're
Yeah.
there is you're already winning, right?
Totally. How has
Yeah,
that benefited you in your joints and stuff like that?
but tremendously. It's a nice compliment to my strength training. Actually, so I've I believe if you can find something you love, you can really not work, and you can really adopt a lifestyle where you're doing a number of activities throughout your day that are generating income. Some activities aren't. If you generate enough income from the activities that you're doing, you can live a great lifestyle, right? And some of those activities are strength training. Some of those activities are yoga, mobility. Some of those activities are training others, right? I have gotten into a great, 7-day split. Monday, Tuesdays are begin early, end late. Wednesdays are a great reset, focused on yoga and mobility and stretching, where Mondays and Tuesdays are strength. Wednesdays is like I said, very much focused on yoga and stretching. Thursday, Fridays back to heavy strength. Saturday, endurance cardio with uh, yoga stretching. Sunday reset. Sunday dial it right back. Working out really well for me actually, and then I intersperse my Peloton every day of the week.
Nice.
Yeah,
That Wednesday peak, I love. I do that with a lot of clients. I do it
oh my
myself.
god,
Like
it's awesome.
midweek, it just makes sense. Like I mean, there's a million ways up the same hill, so you can do 5 days
Yes,
in a row. But I love like because you got to consider your work week, you got to consider mental fatigue,
yes,
systemic fatigue, and
yes.
if you know halfway through the week, you're just like, hey, let's just chill. I'm just gonna, kind of like reset. And mobility through yoga, I love because it's active mobility. It's you're working on stabilization and like kind of flexibility, mobility in different ranges. Breathing, going to bring down that sympathetic nervous system, get you more relaxed state. So I love that. How long you been doing that kind of split?
I 6 months ago, 7 months ago, started working through it as I got into
Nice.
the pandemic here, and as I built my own, as I built my as I built out the home gym, quickly recognized that I live in a gym and I can use it all the time. Um, so it was, and I love being in it. So it was easy to recognize that's all right. I got all this great gear downstairs. I got a great environment to train in. Why would I not use it every day of the week? Right. So I built a lifestyle. It's basically a lifestyle, right? It's just spending, instead of that part of the day and the other part of the house, is now spending that part of the day in this part of the house, and you're hanging out. Right. So it's been, thoroughly enjoy it. The split is great. And when you think about it, Rylan, we typically kind of, I don't know if it's dread, but we go into like the Wednesday hump days, right? Oh my God, it's Wednesday. I look forward to Wednesdays now. I do,
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, by the time Tuesday evening comes, I'm looking forward to kind of like that reset on Wednesday and recharge and go hard again for Thursday, Friday, right?
Yeah.
And then
No,
Saturday, Sunday, because
and
because Saturday and Sunday are it's just consistency, right?
yeah, and I find that actually for me it was always like the Wednesday was, well, the typical bro split of, two uppers, big lower body
Yeah,
Wednesday, and
yeah,
then big two uppers. The
yes,
Thursday was the hardest because you go through this awful leg workout, so your systemic fatigue is just maximizing. Then I would go and try to do
yeah,
another
totally,
Thursday. And I mean, hey, those work, but like you got to look at that longevity approach, and that, it's not necessarily always built for lifestyle with every training plan, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. So that's been working well for me.
that's awesome. And I love that you got your home gym. I figured you'd be setting one up. That's got to be nice, eh? Did you get a squat rack, bench press, cables, or what?
Oh man, I got full commercial down here. I got Kaiser, I got Yoga Studio, I got big big squat rig, two Pelotons, treadmill, elliptical, 700 pounds of Olympic weight, a couple bars, 110 pounds of dumbbells, uh, about 1,500 square feet of gym.
Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. You got my dream gym
It's
there. That's
awesome.
awesome.
It is
Yeah.
awesome, man. Yeah, it's don't need to go anywhere to be honest with you. It's been fun.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I finally got my first lift here since they opened up yesterday and today, and I
Oh
missed it.
yeah.
Like it's something different about it, right? Like I was doing workouts all the time, but there's a limit to what you can do without a barbell, right? If you just had barbells, I think you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do anything that you need to kind of move forward, depending on obviously your
Yeah.
sport and stuff. But no, that's got to be beautiful. And just with like the whole set there, and now you're pretty set, because we don't know how steady this future is in the in-gym
Absolutely.
experience, right?
Yes.
From your perception,
Yes.
how do you think
Yeah.
the gyms are going to evolve as far as like business goes?
Uh, I think I think Peloton's changed everything. Yeah, I really do. Nobody knows it just yet, and it's happening right around us. Um, the success of Peloton, and it's interesting because once you get it, so I was not, am not, and have not been a cyclist um, until you buy the Peloton bike and recognize that it is so much more than the bike. It has nothing to do with the bike. The bike is the printer in the whole situation, right? It's the content, it's the trainers, it's the way that you interact with the trainers, it's the way that you can build they got great content. It's incredible content, live on demand. Um, and then the bike is really cool. I think that's um, the gym as we know it is no longer going to be the same. I think that boutique gyms perhaps will exist. I think people have figured out they can do this at home, and they can do it with online training. They can do it through the Nike app, the Apple Fitness app, the Peloton app, the iFit app. There's so many ways that people can execute on that, and there's digital training equipment coming like Tonal and so forth that are Peloton esque that I believe is only going to continue to drive the rapid adoption of people training at home.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
think like there's not to mention there's just still a big fear going around. So like, I think it's gonna be very split. So I actually did like a little social media like
Mm.
quiz, and from it was like 50-50. Like half the people say I'm good at home, and not
Yeah,
too many of my clients went back to the gym because it's just if you have the weights and you can keep healthy, it's why not, right?
yeah,
Make it convenient.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so when you say boutique gym, you mean like kind of semi-private training kind of thing?
I just think I think smaller facilities, right? I think
Hmm.
booked. Um, although people would argue with me and say no, the big commercial gyms are going to come back because of the space and people will be spaced out. And sure, that potentially is the case. Um, I think that less people are going to want to go out to train.
Yeah, I would agree. And I also like it was actually Joe DeFranco who mentioned the idea of it's like semi-private to private will be like one of the major things, right? Because you're not going to want this big, you're not going to see too many people wanting to do like commercial. I think will always have a place because it's your lowest barrier
Yes.
to entry and you don't have to work with anyone, right? So those are always
Yes.
going to exist, but well, how successful is the question really, right? And then like from there, I
Yes.
think like semi-private is like the most kind of like, just like you say, boutique, not too big, not too small, where you can get good personalization and like a little less. Like I think group fitness will be really like boot camps in themselves. I don't see really coming back again other than outdoor. And like Peloton changed the group fitness, right? Peloton made it where it's like
Yes.
that's like spin class completely changed group fitness to me, right? Like when you see the energy and everything, that's what people get from it. They want that
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
environment. So now that you
Absolutely.
can get that
Yeah.
virtually, it changes everything, right?
100%. Yeah. And and if you wear an Apple Watch or if you have an iPhone, you'll have Apple Fitness, which is pretty good service as well. I've used it as well. So it's hard not to, it's really hard not to be active or have something that you can measure and encourage your human to be active. I think,
Yeah.
anyways, if you're intrinsically motivated, there's a way to measure it.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing for like this day and age as a trainer is like there's so many avenues for people to try to get
Yeah.
information, right? And
Yeah.
but the one thing I will say is there's also a very large demographic of overweight people. So I think we're far from saturated. And the real game changer is like you have to drive to that accessibility range. So that's why I went a bit more online training and like to deliver to my clients so that they can do it virtually. But at the same time, I think I always tell people, there's so much information out there. You could actually take your car apart and be your own mechanic. But how many people are going to trust themselves to do that with their car, right?
Mhm. It's true.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. People want the guidance, right? They want somebody to help them. They want that leadership, right?
Yeah, it's like filtering out all the information because you got to filter some bullshit, a lot of bullshit out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's not a right or wrong. You just gotta find something you believe in and then go with it, right? Find a collective that you align with and off you go, I would say, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
a really good point too. Is like there is a lot of ways. So it's like someone might do my program and have success, but they could probably
Absolutely.
do AJ's program and have success. It's just you need what, like you had said, it stick to one. Even if it is like your Apple Watch or one of the Fit apps, the problem is people don't have the accountability to actually keep on it, because it's not like a 1 month, it's not two, it's not three, it's a year to see a real different person. And then from there, you still got to do it, right? So, and I love that you always, kind of come back to the intrinsic motivation. It has to evolve into something that you enjoy, right?
Yeah. Well, it needs to be part of you, right? It needs to be, and you need to recognize that it's not need to recognize. If it's important to you, you'll make it happen. That's a better way to look at it, right? You're not gonna you schedule it, you move mountains to take care of yourself first, right? That's why I've always believed that getting up in the morning and doing it first thing in the morning is the right thing, right? Get your body taken care of, get your mind taken care of. I know it's not for everybody, and I understand that. And everybody structures life differently. Everybody has different lifestyles. Everybody has different work schedules. I understand that. For me, getting my day started, whether that is at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., whatever the schedule is, but getting the day started, I believe, starts better when you're starting it physically.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I fully
Yeah.
agree. I don't always do strength training in the morning, but like I even just go for a walk, anything physical, 10 to 15
Yes.
minutes. It just
Yeah.
turns, it's like walking to work, right? When it was nicer out, that's what
Yes.
I do. But it totally activates your mind, stimulates you, and I actually fully agree that
100%.
especially people who have a hard time fitting in, and it's like there's no excuse if it's the first thing you do, right? Because then it's over and
Yeah.
done. And
Yeah.
the hard part for people is to just make that fit their clock, right? Or the will to get out of bed, right? To see
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
purpose, to see that drive, right? So
Yeah.
I was really
Absolutely.
curious because you had a really cool experience with Mount Kilimanjaro. I first want to know What inspired
Yeah.
that? And tell us about the training. Tell us what that was like, balancing work and that, and the experience of it.
So the experience of Kilimanjaro was game changer for me. Really enjoyed it. I enjoyed what it did for my perspective. I enjoyed how it taught me to train and do it, and I really enjoyed how it's you know kept me committed to a very much a 100-day goal before it, and then the 14 what was it, 11 day climb up the mountain. Um, I would say the training preceding it perhaps was as difficult as actually doing the journey itself up the mountain, because the mental aspect of that grind, right? So it was uh, it was a lot of fun. It was a tremendous experience, very enlightening, as I said, and an experience I would encourage anybody to do if they had the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So what kind of triggered you into it? Is like, let's do Mount Kilimanjaro. What was the decision there?
I I think mountains are awesome. I think they represent a lot of metaphors, of climbing and coming down, and getting to the top is only half the journey. Yet we always think that getting to the top is the end. It's like, well, no, wait a minute, you still got to get down, right? I don't know, just the adventure, the exploration, the the willingness to, just the ability to do it, right, is what really excuse me, a little like Kilimanjaro frog in the throat there. It was just the want to push myself to do something that I've never done before. Really.
That's beautiful. And I remember, so you were doing that the same year I was doing my bodybuilding, because I kept coming in the gym. I was watching you
That's
guys
right.
do all your
Yes.
training, and
Yeah.
we were both leaning
That's
up.
right.
And so, what kind
Yeah.
of training were you doing to prep? What was the kind of physical, like, how did you have to adapt and like for that climb?
Yeah. So it was a lot of endurance training. It was endurance, it was strength, it was mobility training, mimicking, you know, climbing, right? It's mimicking, taking those legs and putting themselves in uneven positions. And I did a lot of treadmill upwards, a lot of treadmill backwards, did a lot of um, prowler back pedaling. Um, it was exercises like that, and still kept the strength training in there. 5 days a week. That was a big component of it. More reps, less heavies, I would call it, and focus more on that endurance. Listen, climbing mountains and all that is as much up here in the head, right? It's the mental endurance, right? So it's, I'll never forget doing the 7 day. So I took the climb and simulated 70% of it in the gym. Every day I took the length of time I was going to climb and spent it on either the treadmill or on the turf. And that last day of summit day of I did think it was what 9 hours in the gym or 10 hours in the gym. It was it was a grind, man. It was a mental grind. And it wasn't so much physically as it was just mentally a grind going up and down the turf with the prowler, right? Up forwards, backwards, and then simulating what it would be like to go up and down the mountain, right?
9 hours in the gym. Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's
long
incredible.
time,
And I
long
know
time.
because
We
you
sum we
were
summited with five guys.
you were like doing all that, and you were trying to lean up because you just wanted to be more efficient with your physique.
Yeah.
How did you manage your nutrition throughout all that training?
Fantastic. I learned a lot about it. Learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about my nutrition. Learned a lot about I learned the courage it takes to live values around nutrition. I learned the control it takes so ultimately you have control over two things, right? The words that come out of your mouth and the food that goes in your mouth, right? And they both actually probably affect each other. If you're eating poorly, you're probably gonna, you know, maybe speak poorly because you're not gonna have you might be cranky, you might be tired, or right if you're eating really poorly. So it taught me, nutrition's important. We know that. During that journey, though, I became even more mindful of it.
That's great. And yeah, because every time I was coming in, I saw that you were getting leaner and leaner, and you just got in great shape So when you got to do that climb, describe what the climb is like, and I never even thought of that. You made a good point. Like you got to come down the hill, and it's actually really painful on the legs to deal with that eccentric loading on the
Yeah,
way down.
it's so true. So AJ and I did a lot of that eccentric loading training in the gym, recognizing that going down. So summit day was what was it? I guess it was a yeah, I think it was about a 10-hour, 12-hour day to the summit on summit day. And then we got down back to base camp in 2.5 hours, 3 hours. You're just grinding down the mountain. You're like skiing down the mountain. And it's just straight down, right? So you're side to side to side to side to side. Right. So yeah, that was interesting. And you don't think about it, but yeah, getting to the top of the mountain is only half the battle, right? So you get up there at what do we got there? 3 o'clock. We needed to be down by, before sunrise, before sundown. I'm sorry. So like 5:36. So we spend 15 minutes up there, 20 minutes up there. You don't spend a lot of time at the top, right? So you grind your ass up there for many days and hours, and then you get there and you're like, okay, take a picture. Let's go now, and you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get back down to base camp. Like, okay, that happened real fast, right?
Yeah.
That's also the joy of it too. Right?
That's yeah, quick selfie. Let's go. We gotta make this.
Absolutely.
And it's
Yeah.
funny because that's such I love how you describe that analogy for life, because that's a real career perspective, is like it's hard to stay at the top, and then you got to work to way down from anything that you conquer. And so you guys skied down? Is that what you're saying? And once you get there, there's like a ski path, or is you just saying that it's a
No,
really
no, no,
fast?
no. I just when you're going down on the loose rock and loose shale,
Oh
you're
shit.
going you're going like you're digging your heels in, right? As if you were skiing. So the rock is like snow, right? So think of the inches of rock, which would be like if you were skiing down a mountain. It's like if you were skiing down a mountain, right? You'd be
Okay.
slashing and bearing through the mountain. Um,
That's so
now it's
intense.
yeah,
So you must have been pretty
it
sore
was it
after
was and
that.
yeah, and we were racing the sun because we wanted to get down before the sun.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't too bad. Like again, all that training it certainly helped. Right, it helped with recovery, big
Yeah,
time.
for sure. I think
Yeah,
people really underestimate that eccentric loading. I remember we were doing some mountain climbs in
absolutely.
Thailand, and it was the most uncomfortable. It was going down the hills. That was the hardest thing.
Yeah,
My legs were sore for
yes,
days. And
yes.
no, that's incredible. So are you thinking of conquering another hill or mountain down the road, or what?
We will see. We will see. The world's a big place.
Yeah.
We're kind of hampered down right now by the situation around us in the world.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
when that sorts itself out, I'd be eager to find a mountain to climb. Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that.
absolutely.
That's great. The so like how was it to try to manage training and still helping your business and stuff like that? Because I know for myself, bodybuilding, you're so applied to what you're really passionate about with that, but you still got to keep your work going, and it kind of pulls away. How was it to manage that?
Say that again. Sorry. Say that again.
So to
How
balance
was
out like the
it?
training with your business.
Oh, you just it's important. You figure it out. I really believe if listen. So I needed full commitment from my family. I was in bed earlier and I had to juggle things around, but everybody supported, that journey. Um, I got up earlier, right? You go to bed. If it's really important, 24 hours is a full day. You just become more productive. It's important what you can do in 24 hours.
Mhm.
Incredible,
Yeah,
I should say, not important. It's incredible what you can do in 24 hours.
yeah. And I actually really like that approach, because I think that's a really important step people forget, is like make sure your environment is on
Yes.
board with you, because like
Yes.
positive, supportive. They don't have to always eat the same food you do, but hey, I'm going to train
Yeah.
different. I'm going to live different. I might even be moody and tired, but this matters to me.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Get the support, have the support network around you, right?
Mm-hmm. And,
Yeah.
so I love this idea too, because I imagine it's great motivation to kind of show your kids to drive so hard towards something like this. How did they like seeing you do that?
The kids loved it. The kids thought it was pretty cool that dad was going to climb a mountain. Um, you know, uh, I think they thought it was pretty cool. Anyways, they still think just dad doing his thing. But yeah, no, it's great. Anything you do, you want to inspire your children.
Yeah, yeah. And so, with your kids, what's some advice you try to really instill with them to make sure that they have the same kind of work ethic and stuff like that? Because I mean, this is always an interesting thing I see is, as you as a successful person, it's hard to not give your kids a
Mm-hmm.
lot of opportunity. But what kind of like morals and principles do you try to instill with them to ensure that they still have the kind of work ethic you do?
Mm-hmm. I would, you know what? It's showing, right? It's showing as much as it is talking about. It's talking, it's showing, it's demonstrating, and making it normal, right? So instead of making a big celebration when you score a goal, it's just what I do. I just score a goal, right? Or instead of making a big deal when you make your bed or you tie your shoes, well, no, that's just what I do. You tie your bed, you make your shoes, you make your bed, you tie your shoes, you brush your teeth, you work out, take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and then get on with your day. Repeat,
Yeah,
right? Get your rest. And it's difficult living a consistent life. Difficult for many people, really, when you think about it, right? Difficult to commit to living a life of consistent wellness. We race to Friday nights to have, drinks or something with friends or food that might make us feel crappier on Saturday. And so we race to Friday where that happens. And then Saturday, we spend Saturday kind of feeling the ill effects of that. And then we kind of do a workout or something half-assed. And then Sunday or that happens on Sunday. And then, Monday happens. And then, you go through Monday to Thursday, race to Friday, repeat, right? I don't know, it gets old after a while, doesn't it?
totally.
If you can
Yeah,
find a
it just
consistent, find a consistent 7-day rhythm, right? I'm not saying don't drink, but you find a consistent 7-day rhythm. It's probably helpful.
Yeah, and I think like this kind of comes down to like we keep saying values and your routine and your structure and what people don't see in that is that's a consistent, not a beneficial but consistent structure. It's just going. I think one of the major things that people miss is delayed gratification over immediate gratification, and people who are okay with delayed gratification really try to go after
Mhm.
bigger goals, and delayed gratification is the most authentic form of self-improvement or really truly good
Mhm.
feelings. Like we can feel good from drinking alcohol, or we can feel good from putting in a workout. We
Mhm.
can feel good by eating clean
Mhm.
food, or we can feel good for the first
Mhm.
few bites of a burger. But at the end of the day, like
Mhm.
it's the delayed gratification that creates more
Yes.
things. But the immediate
Yes.
gratification,
Absolutely.
it's always like it's like a debt to the system. It's like you feel good now, you're gonna feel shitty later. You feel like it's a little bit more patient at the start, you feel better later, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. You're bang on. Yeah.
And you've really always had that from kind of your upbringing to kind of put in the work and to be willing to delay that gratification to put up with the grind yourself.
So I listen, I like instant gratification as much as any of us do. Uh, I'm not afraid to put in the work though for the long-term gratification too. I'm not afraid to put in the work. That's where true progress comes, right?
Yeah,
Consistently working every single day, and greatness comes along with it.
yeah,
Unless
and
you're
I
going to win
think
the lottery,
yeah,
unless you're going to win the lottery, you're going to have to do something consistently for a period of time to gain net worth.
yeah. And I think that's a really big thing that like people just don't appreciate, and I appreciate more and more as trying to own my business is just like
Mhm.
it's just slow. like progress is hard work and it's slow. It's like slower than fitness, and it's like
Yes.
it's even harder to really believe in the process at times. So what were some of the bigger lessons that you found, whether it's through fitness or through your business itself, to make sure that you stayed on track, trying to believe in your business and the long term game?
One foot after another, and just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Really, it's kind of cliche, but that's the one thing I learned going up the mountain, right? Just one foot after another. Go
Hmm.
slow. It'll get you there, right? Yeah. Go
Yeah.
slow with purpose, right? Go, and go with purpose, with value, purpose, effort, right? Don't drag your rear end.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny because we, like, again, it's a immediate gratification, so it just
Yeah.
sounds so
Yeah.
boring it can't work, but that's how
No,
it
that's how it
works.
works. Absolutely. It's exactly how it works.
I think the other thing that you mentioned that I think really gets lost in our society is you had said, believe in yourself. And so I think
Yes.
that's a really underestimated, because this is kind of the problem I have with our society, is that we tell little kids you can believe in anything, but then
Yes.
when we tell teenagers, be realistic. So we drop off that reality plate a little bit and we say,
Bingo.
by the time they're like young adults, safe, safe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
What really made you make sure you believed in yourself so much from your view?
I think it comes with wisdom and just time, right? Confidence in your decisions and just learning. It's learned, right? It's wisdom. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Just you can't learn wisdom faster than time itself, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't know what I know through my experiences and through my time, just like I can't know, what somebody, who has a little more wisdom than I do on the planet. So it's incredible what experiences teach you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the
Mm.
most important thing. As when I was younger, was I started to appreciate wisdom, even though I would talk a lot of shit and I would like
Yes.
spew my ideas. I also always had to reserve my thoughts, because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you've been on the world longer. You just have seen more
Yes.
shit, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's exactly right. Yeah. And there's truth to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and there's even just the whole value of wisdom isn't necessarily knowledge. It's it's more about just experience and perception of knowledge more than anything. I think it's like an old Socrates saying is like, a wise person doesn't believe what they know, they realize what they don't know. And that's a huge
Correct.
perspective, right? Like a lot of people want to
Yes.
believe how smart they are, yet a wise person will know how much, realize how little they know. And that's a huge difference.
Absolutely. Correct. That's correct. Yes.
So,
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
evolving here, new times and stuff like that. Has your business done any shifts as far as managing COVID? Any opportunities that you see to seize?
No, uh, what ICUC does provide, they provide a critical piece to what our clients need, which is communicating with their customers. So, as COVID has run rampantly, ICUC has been fortunate to um, largely continue on communicating with our customers. Actually, not too bad. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Awesome. So what's some new, like, it's a strong ambition podcast. We've been talking about lifestyle and all the, things that go along with
Yeah.
motivation stuff. What's around the corner for you? What's a new ambition? What do you feel like obviously we got to wait for COVID, or maybe you're working towards something. Is there anything new that you're passionate about?
Great question. You know what, Rylan? I would say just on a journey of continuing to better oneself, right? Linked back to wisdom, right? It's an aspiration of trying to be better every day than the last. I know it sounds so cliche. There's so much truth to it as well, right? Open to a day of learning every single day, right? It's being curious, being consistent, right? Those C words, right? Um, not being cynical. Easy to be cynical when, I would offer up being curious is much more enjoyable. Um, my biggest ambition right now is really just aspiring and to be a better person. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of your answers are so simple but very clear cut, and it's funny how you say it's cliche, but it's like when you talk to someone who doesn't understand these, I get them. Like, I think so. This is
Yeah.
where, like, I believe that you have people who live passion lives and people who
Yes.
live to survive, and there's a gradient. Like, there's always a continuum.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
if you have ever experienced living for passion, all of what you're saying makes absolute fucking sense. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
that you're speaking my language. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, that didn't give me any answers. That didn't give me a step-by-step program. It's like, this is not, is
Yeah. 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 It's true. It's absolutely true. You need to be comfortable with the process and just be consistent and curious every single day. Right. And the answers are cliche. It's, as I talked with AJ before, it's hard to be consistent and it's hard to execute. It's very difficult for many people to execute consistently,
totally. And I really
including
actually,
myself. Right?
yeah, I
We
really
all.
like the term curiosity too, because
Mhm.
it's like people like, again, this goes back to that problem of self-belief. You're not
Yeah.
even curious what you can do. Like, hey, do you think you can run a half marathon? I'm not even curious. It's like
Yeah.
you're running 10Ks. Why aren't you curious if you could do more, right? And
Yep.
it's like, are you curious about anything about your health or about your knowledge base? Like, hey, if you want to just try to pick up a guitar, learn how to play guitar, are you curious that you're capable of it?
Yeah.
And that's that same mindset, right? Because that's what got you to where you were, was the curiosity. Hey, where's the opening for my business? Where's the opening for my life? How can we
Yeah.
evolve?
Yeah. That's
Right?
right. That's right. No, it's exactly it. It's exactly it. Find a problem, solve it, and make some money off it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fundamentally good business right there, right?
Exactly correct. It's exactly correct. Yeah. It's exactly right. Yeah.
No, and it's really hard to communicate those values, right? So I really like that you're bringing it to
Yeah.
light, of like being curious. Consistency is a huge one, and
Yes.
just one foot after the other. That's what I learned from my marathon, was you just got to keep saying I can,
It's true.
and just deal with like a little bit of
Absolutely.
suck. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Exactly correct. Yeah. Good on you for
yeah.
doing the marathon, man. That's something I can't bring myself to do just yet.
Well, you can talk to AJ about it, and I'll say the same thing, because your Mount Kilimanjaro is harder than that, because it's really just like, as long as you do injury prevention and you put in your runs once or twice, 2 to 3 times a week,
Yeah.
if you're there to just survive it, like
Yeah.
your body is actually built to survive that. Your body is built to run off of
Yeah. Well, sure.
endurance
Yeah.
as long as you can. It's just
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's if you were able to do a 9 hour day, or sorry, you said Summit Day was like 10 or 12 hours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you're definitely able to jog for about 5 hours. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I'm
it's
sure.
just a jog. It's usually, and we're in Manitoba, we're not going to deal with too much up and downs. There's a little bit, but not much.
For now. True
And
enough.
it's
Yeah.
it honestly is just a matter of patience with what you're capable of. It goes back to consistency and just kind of that test of will. I don't know if I'd ever want to do a full marathon again. I was glad I did a half again, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of time of training, right? Because you're doing like 4 hour runs to prep. But at the end of the day, what was really great about that, which I imagine you experienced with putting those long hour days in and everything like that, is always
Yes.
seeing your work when it's done. Like, I remember I jogged from LaSalle to the perimeter and back. I'm like, I drive that and that takes a long time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
know that I
Yeah.
could jog that as like a prep run felt really empowering. And that's what
Yeah.
you learn from those
Absolutely.
experiences, is just mental I can, and just kind of flow in
That's
that state.
exactly it. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. So this has been great, Keith. I love the simple but very truthful advice, and being, it's truthful, right? Like, I mean, and what I love too is that we kept coming back.
Authentic. It's real.
Sorry, did you say that again?
I said it's authentic. It's real, right? Like
Yeah.
it's it's not it's easy to get caught up in complexities when it's mostly the simple things that move us forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like what I think I loved was how much we kept coming back to your love for training and fitness and mindset. Yet, like, you have a, $1 million
Mhm.
business, like a multi-million-dollar business. Like the fact that
Mhm.
it's like, hey, no, this is still me. Like maybe you had some ebbs and flows, but the
Yes.
basically, like when people say I'm too busy to exercise, it's a value thing, right? And you never let go
Yeah.
of that value completely, and it clearly worked out, right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, I love it. And
Yeah.
it's something I think more people need to know and appreciate. So well, that's about it. Unless Bavik, do you have any questions here? I think he's just kind of chilling, enjoying the knowledge here. And for the most part, that's it today, man. I really appreciate it. And so why don't you
Awesome, man.
you
Appreciate that.
plug your own podcast there is the business athlete, right?
Yeah, the Business Athlete Podcast. Yeah, myself and AJ Zeglin. Season 1 is in the can, in the books, on the shelf. 8 episodes to enjoy. Working on season 2 soon to relaunch at the Business Athlete Podcast.
Nice.
Find us on Anchor, Apple
Nice.
Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. We're there. Yeah.
Did you want to plug anything else, your business or anything like that?
No, I think we'll leave it there, my friend. We'll leave it there today. How about we focus on the podcast today?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. I like that. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Keith. I
Excellent.
really appreciate it. And we'll have to
Thank you.
talk soon. Thanks again for joining today. And thanks to Keith Bilous. That was a super simple and enlightening conversation. I really liked it because, a guy who's running a multi-million-dollar company is still just saying it's hard work. It's just making sure you put one foot after the other, and it's believing the process. It's staying on track. It's putting yourself and your health first. Like the fact that this guy is running a multi-million-dollar company, and in the end, he still doesn't put fitness on the back seat. It's always on the front seat. It says something, right? And priorities and values for that process. And like he said, it eventually just became a part of who he is, to the point where it's breathing. So I think that should be a super valuable lesson in and of itself. So don't forget to check out his podcast, because I know him and AJ got some great guests on there. AJ will be joining the podcast before you know it as well. So thank you for joining today. And remember to like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and also check out my website, rqtrainingnutrition.com. You can find the show notes and more information about the guests on here. On top of that, I have Nutrition Exercise Mindset Forum. On there, you're going to find a whole bunch of information. Every week, I have some new blogs up there to give you some more tidbits on those different perspectives. So remember, it is not the pursuit of happiness, but the happiness within the pursuit.